Big, heavy, and notoriously hungry, the M60 is the infamous American Vietnam-era machine gun. Developed after World War II, based on captured German prototype and production machine gun designs from the war, the affectionately named Pig valiantly served the American Armed Forces and the forces of dozens of other nations for over 50 years. As iconic as it was plagued with problems, the M60 was an imperfect weapon for an imperfect time. Weighing in at a surprisingly light 23.15 pounds with a length of 43.5 inches, this belt-fed machine gun fires the 7.62 by 51mm NATO cartridge at up to 650 rounds per minute, using 200 to 1000 round ammunition belts. Effective at ranges of up to 1,100 meters, but capable of reaching almost 4 times that distance, the M60 fires its rounds at speeds of 853 meters per second. By the closing years of World War II, machine guns had been in use with the American military since famed firearms designer John Moses Browning's M1895 Colt Browning machine gun was introduced in 1895. But the United States hadn't produced a new machine gun design since the end of World War I, and the M1918 Bar and M1919 Browning machine gun were starting to show their age. Meanwhile, their soon-to-be-defeated foes in Germany had been rapidly developing a new type of machine gun before and during the war, the general-purpose machine gun, and their designs, first the MG34 and then the terrifying MG42, had proven so effective that the US War Department had to put out a training film to ease the fears of soldiers being sent off to fight against them. The sheer terror these weapons produced were down to the incredible volume of fire they could dispense consistently, but this wasn't the only advantage the German designs had. They were relatively lightweight, had built-in bipods, able to change barrels easily and efficiently, and were accurate enough that they could be used for sniping roles, and compared to the unwieldy machine guns of the US, they were a drastic improvement. Thus, towards the end of World War II, the US military began testing captured German machine guns at the Aberdeen Proving Grounds in Maryland to try and replicate Germany's successes, but rechambered with the American standard 30-06 cartridge. This project, dubbed the T-24, was a resounding failure, many of the redesigned parts' dimensions being miscalculated, leading to the prototypes being incapable of consistently firing the new chambering, and after they experienced 50 malfunctions within the firing of under 1,500 rounds, the project was cancelled and the T-24s relegated to a museum. After the war had ended, the US renewed interest in developing a new machine gun after the capture of a later version of the German FG-42 light machine rifle. This rifle was capable of firing using the same belt feed as the MG-42, only it was far lighter and much easier to produce, and the US used this as a basis for their new machine gun design. Their first attempt, the T-44, was another failure. It overheated far too easily, and its light weight made it inaccurate in sustained automatic fire, but the design had mechanical merit, and a contract was issued for further development. This new prototype, the T-52, took the basic bolt and operating rod mechanism of the FG-42 and the MG-42's belt feed system, along with a new gas expansion cutoff design, but an update to the military's requirements and the adoption of the 7.62 by 51mm cartridge as the NATO standard would force the project to once again begin again. Renamed to the T-161, the new requirement stated that the new machine gun must have an effective range of 2,000 yards, a maximum weight of 18 pounds, a quick-change barrel with a flash hider, use a disintegrating link belt, and have a cyclic rate of 600 rounds per minute, along with being chambered in the new NATO standard round. After going through a series of tests and revisions, the resulting T-161E3 design was well liked by those that tested it being easy to fire from both the shoulder and hip, as well as being lighter, shorter, and easier to disassemble for cleaning, but it was noted to have not performed exceedingly well in durability tests. Nonetheless, the Army recommended the design for adoption in August of 1956, it being designated the M60 and adopted as the US's new standard machine gun in January of 1957. Shipped off to Vietnam with American soldiers in 1965, the M60 gained a reputation very quickly, it being known as the Pig for its bulkiness and appetite for ammunition, with the harsh climate and jungle terrain of Vietnam causing critical components of the weapon to deteriorate fast, but even so, soldiers appreciated its handling, mechanical simplicity, and incredible effectiveness. The M60's capability in combat has been forever immortalized with the story of Lance Corporal Richard Pittman, an American Marine that protected his wounded comrades with an M60, defeating 2 enemy machine gun positions and a number of enemy combatants in his vicinity, along with running through a hail of enemy small arms and mortar fire to protect another squad of Marines further down the trail they were on, surviving the ordeal, saving the lives of dozens of men, and earning himself a Medal of Honor. Since being introduced, a number of variants have been developed, the first being the M60E1. Developed sometime in the mid-1960s, this variant changed the bipod and moved it from the barrel to the gas cylinder, with the carrying handle moved from the top of the receiver to the barrel, and the top of the forearm was removed to make barrel changes quicker, but it would never see full-scale production. The M60E2 was also produced during this time, this being a coaxial tank-mounted version of the weapon, with the grip and stock removed, adding an electrically operated trigger and an extended gas tube below the barrel. A similar aircraft-mounted variant was also produced in the 60s, named the M60C, omitting the grip and stock with a similar electrically operated trigger and a hydraulic swivel mount. Another vehicle-mounted M60 variant was produced during the 60s, this being the M60D, operated manually and again removing the grip and stock, adding spade grips and an aircraft ring sight, along with a canvas bag attached to catch casings and prevent them damaging the vehicle. This variant replaced the short-lived M60B, an unmounted variant lacking a bipod and with a shortened stock. The next update to the M60 would come in 1986, with the M60E3, reducing weight by 3 pounds, with the bipod now attached to the receiver, a pistol grip fitted under the forend, ambidextrous safety, compatible with more slings, an enlarged trigger guard, and a lighter barrel. These changes were meant to improve the weapon, but the lighter components were more susceptible to wear and tear, shortening the service life. The weapon would remain unchanged for another 9 years, until the 1995 introduction of the M60E4, also known as the Mark 43, featuring a new front grip, iron sights, buttstock and bipod, along with revising the belt feed system to improve reliability. The final military variant of the M60 is the 2014 M60E6, with a redesigned quick-change barrel, a Picatinny rail mount, new bipod, and internal updates to improve reliability. There are also civilian variants of the M60, but these are semi-automatic only, with the internals heavily modified to make it almost impossible to convert to an automatic weapon, also being quite expensive to purchase. The M60's time in service has been extensive, remaining active with dozens of militaries globally in all its forms, but for the United States, it has been replaced in many roles by the Belgian FN M240 since 1977, and the M249 SAW in the mid-1980s. Nonetheless, the Pig has served valiantly on the front lines since the 1960s, still being a popular machine gun choice for many nations in Asia and South America. Finding use in almost every conflict involving the US since Vietnam, and in dozens of others such as the Troubles in Ireland or the Philippine insurgency, the M60's effectiveness and reliability has given it a resume unparalleled by nearly any other modern machine gun design. The ammunition-hungry beast from the height of the Cold War, the M60 is the iconic Vietnam-era machine gun, and one of the most recognizable firearms ever developed.